When we're dealing with quadratic functions, there are several important points that we'd like to look at, but one of those key points is what we call the vertex. Okay, you see the vertex here and the vertex here. Now, the vertex has some pretty strong effect on how the function behaves and in terms of what we write down for the domain and range of that function. So I'd like to take the function on the left-hand side first. We'll call this function A. So for function A, if I want to write the domain and range, you'll notice that this graph has arrows on the end over here, and it has arrows on the end over here. Now what this means is that this function will continue on forever in this direction. It will also continue on forever in this direction. So as that happens, it also continues to go to the right, and it continues to go to the left. So that means that we don't really have any restriction on the type of values we could have for x for that function. So meaning that when I write my domain, I would simply have to write that x is a real number. What does affect this function is where the vertex is located. You see the vertex here is below the x-axis, but also that all other points on this function are higher than the vertex, which means that this vertex would be what we call a minimum point. Now the coordinates of this vertex we can see are -4 and -3. So that's going to affect now how I write the range for that function. Now the range for the function deals with the y variable. And we can see from the graph here that all the values of y are going to be at -3 or larger. So the way I can write that here in my range is that y is greater than or equal to -3. And because, again, this is a solid line, y is a real value. So that was for function A. For function B, what you'll see too is that now our vertex is located above the x-axis, and the coordinates here are 4 and +3. Now, since this value is the highest value on the function, we would call this a max. We can see from that function that the domain of this function doesn't change from the other. It's still got arrows on the end, and they're going to the right and to the left. So my domain would be just a real value. But my range, in this case, because again this is a maximum value, all the values of y on that function are going to be less than or equal to this value of 3 right here, or this max at the vertex. So in this case, y would be less than or equal to a +3, and once again, y is a real number.